Hello everybody, my name is Kyle939. Welcome back to another video. Today in this one I'll be doing another tier list video, and in this one I'll be covering the meta decks post Cyberstorm Access. Yeah, it looks like Cyberstorm Access actually released some good decks that actually might somewhat change the meta, but yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the tier list, shall we? We're going to be starting off with Tribagage here. Man, how much this deck has fallen off. It is probably going to be in Rogue. It's like still a decent deck, but like, I don't know. I feel like the stuff above it just does so much more than what Tribagage is doing. I think at this point, it's just Rogue. Playable if you're playing Pier. If you're even playing the Bird Up or Sprite, but variants is still very, I don't know. I think there's just better stuff you can be doing in this format, unlike playing Tribagage. One of the new decks, Mana Diem. This is interesting. So, I don't know, it seems decent enough. It can set up some good boards, especially if you're playing the Scareclaw stuff inside of it as well. But I think this deck will benefit from future support in the future. So right now, we're probably going to put this in, yeah, I think tier 2 is probably fine. Again, it does set up on decent boards. It does play a lot of like engine cards, so there's not that many stuff going for like hand traps and stuff like that in this format, but still a decent deck overall. Not the best deck, but not the worst deck either. Branded, they just got a new wave of support in Cyberstorm Access as well, in Guiding Quem and Albion, which is basically just Expulsion 2.0. But the thought, okay, so we're gonna put this in 1.5 for right now. The only problem with Branded right now is a lot of people are expecting expulsion bullshit. So they're playing things like Ghost Bell. They're also like side decking Bestials as well, which is a very insane to me when you think about that. So right now, so this does have a somewhat target on its back, even though it's not like the best deck in the format. People are still playing side cards for it just so they don't just lose automatically to Gimmick Puppet. So for right now, it is a tier 1.5 deck, because if you're able to fucking Gimmick Puppet lock them, then they basically can't really do anything. But it even has the ability to play through Ash now with the new Guiding Quem. You just basically have a Nadir Servant and stuff like that. The problem with Branded is they play a shit ton of one-ofs, and there's really not that many like options when you're trying to play non-engine cards in the deck. But overall, it's still good. Branded Fusion is just an insane card for the deck. So right now, this is probably tier 1.5. Constellars, they just got, or that was the Teller Knight, not Constellars. So, yeah, this is everything else, right? Unless this was meant to be, well, I don't know. Constellars and Stellars are like kind of the same thing. They might be. I don't know. We're just going to put it in Rogue for right now. Even with all this Teller Knight new stuff, it's doing cool things. I just don't think it's going to be doing enough against the top decks right now. Plunder, this is always like one of those decks that always appears in like every format. We're gonna put it in the top of Rogue, could be in the bottom of tier 2 as well. Again, this is always just one of those decks that a lot of people do like it, and a lot of people take it into formats and actually do good with it. But the only problem is not that many good players are playing. You know, the top players are playing other decks, unlike playing with Plunder. Even though Plunder seems to be a fun deck, it's probably going to be in Rogue for right now. Heroes. Again, this is like another just like, it's like a whatever deck. We're going to put it in Rogue. We're going to put it on top. We're going to put it above. We're going to put, I think Tribagage is way less than all these. Again, it has amazing stuff it can do. The thing with this deck is actually somewhat dice to Droll, because it does search a lot, but you know, its end board being like DPE plus the Dark Law is pretty insane. But when the best deck in the format right now is a Rise Heart, and that Rise Heart does the exact same thing as what they're trying to do, yeah, I just think it's going to be in Rogue for right now. Morenses, this is also like an interesting option. I kind of want to put this in Rogue. I kind of want to put this in tier 2. I can play a lot of hand traps. It's a 1-card combo to get to their unaffected guy, but a lot of people are main decking Kaijus now in this format, just because of other decks that have been appearing in the format. So I'm tempted to put this in Rogue as well. It's kind of sucks. We're going to put it in the top of Rogue. Kind of sucks. I really do want to put this in tier 2, but we're just going to leave it in Rogue for right now. Code Talker. So this ain't Math Mech specifically. This is the Code Talker deck. we're going to put this in Rogue as well. I'm actually going to put Marincess in tier 2. I think that's probably fine. We're going to put it in the bottom of tier 2. Code Talker, the only problem with Code Talker is Mathmech is literally doing everything better than what Code Talker is trying to do. Like, they're even splashing some of the Code Talker stuff in Mathmech. So if you're going to play Code Talkers, just play Mathmech at that point. So yeah, we're just going to put this in Rogue. And speaking of Mathmech, here is Mathmech. We're going to put this in the top of tier 2. So, Mathmech has obviously got new support in Cyberstorm Access with the new firewall stuff and stuff like that. The only problem I always do see with the Mathmech is dying to Ghost Bell and the Bestial. So, that's hitting the trap card. I think it's Super Factorial, I think is what it is. So, again, that is kind of a problem, especially since Branded is a better deck than I think Mathmech is doing. And it can, and people are side decking options for Branded, and those same Branded outs are also outs to Mathmech. I know there's another line where you make I forgot, it's like a firewall card. You make that, but the problem with that card is Kaijus are in the format as well, so they can just get Kaiju'd as well. But the good thing about this deck is it can play a lot of hand traps, and it is kind of just a one card combo to go off and stuff like that. It has the access code OTK line as well. It's not a bad deck. I'm actually, I'm tempted to put this in. I'm going to put it in 1.5. We'll put it in the bottom of 1.5. So that's how I'm going to leave it there. Exosister, everything else. I mean, the only time this deck ever came up was against Tier Limit, and Tier Limit is so gone. It's so far gone. We're going to put this in everything else. I think this deck is so bad. There's nothing you can really do with it. Trap Trick. We're going to put this in Tier 2. The problem with Trap Trick now is a lot of people know exactly what to do when they verse the deck. You know, even though Trap Trick is a cool deck, it's a very cheap option as well, thanks to the structure deck. A lot of people just know what they're doing against Trap Trick. It does somewhat, if they hit your normal summon, you're just kind of fucked. You just kind of have to go off your trap cards. The trap cards, a lot of them have to interact either on summon or on the turn they are summoned. So if they just kind of wait you out and just keep the monsters on field, if they can't out those, then Trap Trick has a problem with that as well. Trap Trick is a very, very good deck, but I think there's just better options, especially since people are now knowing exactly what they're going to do against Trap Trick. I think it's just kind of fallen off. So it's at tier 2 for now. Purely, one of the new decks in the format, thanks to their two new cards, which is the quick play spell that lets you draw during the standby, and then the new Lily as well. We're going to put this in 1.5. We're going to put this probably above Mathmech. The only problem with Purely right now is, one, it does somewhat die to Arise Heart because they kind of need their quick play spells to hit the graveyard. So if they never see it in graveyard, it kind of does suck for them. But two, Kaijus exist. Their best card in this deck is Noir, and a Kaiju outs Noir. So, and this is the reason why main deck Kaijus are happening in this format, is because of Purely. So the Kaijus kind of just check the deck. They can play a lot of hand traps, especially since they're drawing a lot as well. But their top monster can be hit by a Kaiju, kind of does suck. So we're going to kind of put this in 1.5. Is it above Branded? I feel like Branded is very, very good this format. So we're going to put Branded above Purely. Gold Pride. Man, I actually love this deck so much. So we're going to put this in, I think it's better than Marincess. I think it's better than Manadium. Is it better than Trap Trick? We're going to put this here. We're going to put this here in tier 2. The new support is insane, getting to level 5 and stuff like that, even though I have my personal opinions on the new support. The new support overall is a good thing for the archetype. The only problem I'm seeing with Gold Pride right now and in testing and stuff like that, it has a hard time playing around Droll. And when Droll deck is getting main decked as well in this format, it kind of does suck. But when this deck is able to go off, it is fucking insane. They can set up on so many monsters and so many spell traps, like it's kind of impossible to kind of play through their board, because not Dark Roller doesn't stop them, because you have to play through all their spell traps. They're playing hand traps in the main as well. This is one of those decks that, you know, they can play like 10 to 12 hand traps in their deck and probably be fine. Again, very decent deck. Is it one of the best decks in the format? I don't think so, but is a very decent option in this format. Dark World, especially since Droll is getting mained, yeah, this deck kind of falls off to that, so, I don't know, we'll put it in the top of Rogue. Again, Droll is main decked in this format thanks to a certain deck that we have not gotten to yet, so Droll just kills Dark World, unfortunately, so we're going to put it in Rogue for now. Labyrinth, we're going to put this in tier 2. I think it has somewhat fallen off. I think it's better than Marincess. Better than yeah, we're gonna put it here. I think is where I'm gonna put it. Obviously, it's still a very good deck. It can play things like D-Barrier and stuff like that. It's just a stun deck, which is always going to be decent in a format. Just look at Outledge and how long that dominated for. But the problem with Labyrinth is it kind of just fallen off. Like a lot of people at the beginning of the previous format just kind of just didn't know what to do against. Now, I mean, Feather Duster exists. You know, if you don't really draw a D-Barrier, there's really just, you have to like play through so much stuff against. I don't know. I just don't think this deck is as good as it used to be. A lot of people are falling off and playing other decks, especially since going second, it's actually having a rough time going second. That's basically any trap deck if you're not playing Floodgates, and this deck ain't really playing that many Floodgates in their main deck. So for now, it's tier 2. It's still a very decent option, but I think there's just better decks than it. Naturia. This is going to be Naturia Runic. I think if it's pure Naturia, you put this in everything else. So we're going to count this as the Runic stuff. We're going to put this in... It's like kind of rough. Okay, we're going to put this in like the bottom of 1.5. I'm tempted to put it in tier 2. So let's put Runic up here as well, since we have the option here. So the most popular version of Runic is Runic Naturia. Both of them together is fine. I think it's still a decent option, but not as good as it used to be, especially with combo coming back, especially with something like Noir and the Peerly stuff, or even the Gimmick Puppet just locking you out of the game. Yeah, I think it's fallen off. It used to be one of the best decks in the format. I think it's kind of fallen off now, especially since Droll is being mained, Ghost Orc is being mained as well. Ghost Orc can hit the Runic's field spell. So 1.5 is still pretty good. I'm going to put it at the bottom of 1.5, but I think this deck has somewhat fallen off. The Scareclaw, we're going to put this in, if it's like the Scareclaw deck, we're going to put this in Rogue. I think it's Rogue for the deck, but if you're playing like the Visa, like if you're playing it with something like the Manadium, I think it is better in that case. We're gonna put this in top row, but I just don't think it's as good as, you know, Mathmech or Purely, but it's still a very decent option in this format, especially in the future. The Fusion gives it so much, but I think it's just better off in Manadium than it is in its own deck. So I'd rather have it as a splash option more than as a pure variant of the deck. Dragon Link. Oh, this is weird. This is weird. So they got Despotter, and Despotter is fucking insane. They also got Chaos Angel as well, but I'm gonna put this in tier 2. I've been kind of playing with this deck. I've been playing like Bestial Synchro kind of combo deck. It's a fun deck. It's a decent deck. I just don't think it's that great in this meta. I think there are better decks than it, especially if you're playing Bestials in it. Like the Bestials are kind of hard bricks if you're versing a deck that just does not play any light or darks. We're gonna put this like here. I think that's probably fine. Yeah, that's probably fine there. Again, it's a very decent option. I think there's just, again, does somewhat die to draw if you're playing the hard Dragon Link package. If you're playing the Bestials like control synchro deck, I mean, if your Bestials are just, if your opponent is not playing a light or dark, then deck just, they are just bricks, unfortunately. But yeah, especially against like Castria as well, which we haven't talked about yet. We're getting to it. I think this is probably like, it's all right. It's all right this format. I think there's better decks than it, but yeah, this is probably fine. Super Heavy Samurai. Oh, the new deck on the block, the new combo deck. We're gonna put this in the top of 1.5. It can go off. It does die to draw. It does die to draw. There is that. But when this deck is not drawn, it can play through multiple interruptions and still set up on a decent board. It's still setting up on Regulus. It's still setting up on the Baron. It's still setting up on Appo if it wants to. It's drawing cards. It's a deck that can play hand traps because it's a one-card combo deck. It is a very, very good deck in this format. I don't think it's the best deck in the format, but again, one of the best decks in the format, especially early on as well. It's one of those things, the decks get better the more they play in the format. So if this deck can find a way to play either around Droll or through Droll, this deck is going to be insane. But it's very good right now. You can play a shit ton of hand traps, sets up on a very, very good board. There's a reason why Dark Ruler is getting back into the side decks, because Dark Ruler is really the only way to out a full-on Super Heavy Samurai board. So we're going to put this in 1.5. for now. Sword Soul. I think Sword Soul is always a tier 2 deck in no matter what format you're playing. We're going to put put that there, I guess. Yeah, Sword Soul, again, one of those decks, you know, the Tennies are insane going second. It's kind of a 1.5 card combo deck. You need a Worm in hand and Sword Soul as well. You can play hand traps in the main deck. You can play something like Desire since it doesn't really care about banishing cards. It also has Apple Dragon, which gives it new, uh-oh, someone's calling me. Hold up, give me 1 second. All right. Sorry about that interruption there. So yeah, Sword Soul, again, even has the new Apple Dragon card, which is very insane. I think Apple Dragon itself, super good. I think in Sword Soul, I mean, obviously there's summoning the tokens and stuff like that, but I think there is a better deck for that. We just have not figured it out yet. Obviously, Sword Soul will always be in a tier 2. It's very cheap as well, so you kind of have to expect it as well. It's a very good deck, just I think there's better decks than this. Sprite. And I feel so bad for Sprite. We're going to put this like here. Here is fine. So the problem with Sprite is, one, Droll's game main deck now. And this deck does somewhat die to Droll. It's kind of just an Ibly lock deck. You Ibly lock them and they hopefully can't play, or if they can play, you are somewhat fucked. They can play a lot of hand traps. I will give advantage to that. There's a lot of variance with this deck as well. But, like, it's fallen off, and it most likely will get hit on the ban list as well, which is very, very unfortunate. But, yeah, we're going to put this in 1.5 for now. I think it's even maybe tier 2. It's kind of that bad, but we're going to leave it there for now. Castria, this is the one card, or one deck I've been saving for. This is the only tier 1 deck in this format. Castria, even with all the new stuff in this Cyberstorm Access, is still the best deck in this format. There's a reason why people are waiting for a ban list, because ban list most likely will hit this deck some way. Yeah, Arise Heart is still an insane board. That's, again, another reason why Kaijus are getting made, because they kind of need to out this fucking Arise Heart, and the Kaiju will do that. It's a shifter that can banish one card face down on the field at quick effect speed. Fenrir and Unicorns are just good ways to break boards. And I don't know. This deck just is so good. It's still very consistent as well. It probably does need to get hit in the next list. Again, even with all this cool stuff in the new format, I still think Castria is the best deck in the format. Dinos. Rogue. Oh, Rogue. Yeah, yep. We're going to put it there. Again, Dinos has always been Rogue kind of thing. Especially with Misget 1, it's just not that great. There's nothing really to say. Dinos has been everywhere. And then Flunderies, we're going to put this in tier 2. We're going to put this like here. Like Flunder is actually like still a decent deck, even after the Barry statue got hit. Still a very decent control strategy. I think this is still insane, especially when you can main deck shifter and stuff like that. The deck is still good, not the best it can be, but it's still a decent deck that you do have to look out for. So yeah, that is it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.